been a busy week, a lot of things going on, and we're going to cover some of that. We're going to talk a little bit with Derek Hanson later. Derek's been covering sports and had a press pass to the Minnesota Twins and Minnesota Vikings for a long, long time. Kirk Cousins held a press conference where he said he's basically not going to get vaccinated. He said it in a roundabout way, but he isn't vaccinated. He admitted that, but he said it's a personal decision, and if he hasn't been vaccinated yet, I can't imagine a scenario where he would. He knew he was coming into a football season. Well, we'll talk to Derek about that. We'll find out. Derek has some strong opinions about how hypocritical some of the protocols are, how we end this. What does it take to end this? Dr. Avishnag Paul was on with us earlier in the week, and we asked him what the barometer is. What's the mark as to when we can just free up society and know where we're at? And of course, we know different variants might be coming, and it's a moving target. But with this Delta variant, where do we feel we need to be? Now, everyone knows that we can, well, by now you know, because the CDC has been talking about it, how those of us that have been vaccinated, those of us that basically have had COVID, can still attract and can still spread COVID. That's right. We can carry and people can get COVID off us. We just may not even know it. So again, how do you go about putting 80,000 people in the stands? If you have somebody like Kirk Cousins who was next to somebody with COVID and you put him in isolation, what does that mean if you have 70,000 people at US Bank Field and you can't tell and you don't know? Well, that's worthy of a conversation, and we're going to have that with Derek today. We'll also get a chance to talk with Ken Martin. Ken is the chairman of the Minnesota's DFL party, the Democratic Farm Labor Party. He talks that he wrote a letter that goes at length about what a success it's been so far with the Biden administration when it comes to infrastructure. The details of infrastructure, what was able to be done in a bipartisan fashion. And I think that individuals on the progressive side like me need to point out and recognize that it was bipartisan. It wasn't just Democrats that are going to make this infrastructure bill go forward. It was people sitting at a negotiating table and finding a way to work it out and finding a way to keep budgets this way, expenses, that way. When, really when it comes down to it, what we're talking about is not going much deeper in debt, but yet building this country up in a way where we can succeed, where we bring in more revenue. And so that's part of the conversation that we're going to have with Ken Martin. Also, we're going to be joined, hopefully in a bit, by Dwayne DeCray. Dwayne is the manager of Garrison Diversion. Dwayne, Garrison Diversion, do you know what that is? I hope you do. I really do. I hope you do. As an old water guy, I think Garrison Diversion has held such a key to the infrastructure that we're going to talk about when it comes to where Joe Biden's putting the money. Garrison Diversion is, if you don't know, is a project that involved a vision from years and years ago. Water coming out of the Missouri River and being dammed up. And, you got Lake Sakakawea. You start moving that water across basically the Continental Divide, and that water finds its way into the Cheyenne River, then goes through the Cheyenne River, and in the beginning was meant to stabilize Devil's Lake because that was the route that it was going to head, and then stabilizing the Red River to the point where we now know, where we're drawing water from in the Fargo area, in the Grand Forks area. So the Red River, as much problem as what we've had with it overflowing and flooding, we have had, let's just say we've had problems in the past. In fact, you can see it right there, of low flow on the Red River, of being able to walk across the Red River. Well, we'll talk to Dwayne about that. We'll get a chance to visit with him because this week they had a big, I don't know if you call it groundbreaking or pipe laying. But they had a bunch of individuals signing a pipe as a celebration of water moving through that pipe on its way to Lake Ashtabula vis-a-vis the Cheyenne River, and then to obviously Fargo and the Moorhead area and moving its way up north. We've fought everybody on this. I mean, we have. We've fought Canadians. We've fought the environmental community. We've fought Minnesotans. We've fought ourselves over what should have happened when it comes to the Red River Valley Water Supply Project. Shouldn't have took that much fighting. But we've gotten to the point now where we're building. And it's going to take a while to build. I understand that, and I'm sure you understand that. It's going to take a while to build. But that doesn't mean in any way, shape, or form that it's not going to get built. Because as I said, pipe is going in the ground. And I think that's just such a key. I think it is. When you see construction done, as somebody who built a lot of water system in his day, when you see construction going on and pipe in the ground, that means so much. That means you got your easements. It probably begins with, we've got the design. The vision of how it should be built this time is done. That's being overseen. So now you've got your easements, you got your permits, and now it's up to construction. And once construction is done, the peace of mind of knowing that that big piece of infrastructure is there. Now, if you're sitting there in western North Dakota and you're saying, what does that have to do with me? It has a lot to do with you. The same way oil had a lot to do with us in the east, because it was oil that was paying the tab for quite a while, right? And oil still pays a big share of the tab. But in the east, the money that can be made from Fargo and how it's expanding. If you haven't been to Fargo lately, you won't recognize it when it comes to South Fargo. You won't. I was at a house last night that ground was alfalfa just, I don't know, 2 years ago. And now you look at the homes that are built there and the size of these homes and the quality of these homes and the people that own the homes. They never planned on living in South Fargo. They didn't. They saw that land underwater in the 2012 flood. They saw it underwater in 2009. And they saw the whole town about to be lost in 2009, or 1997, I mean. Sorry about that. So they know what it's like to see Fargo flood. Now, another piece of infrastructure, if you go south of Fargo on I-29, you're going to see a lot of construction done with a lot of big equipment. The diversion is being built. So imagine being Fargo, and in the same year that we're talking about infrastructure of water coming to you, we're talking about building the infrastructure of water staying away from you. When we first started talking about the diversion in Fargo, what was being talked about was a little under $1 billion. And they did that for a reason. They kept that dollar amount at less, the estimates at less than $1 billion on purpose, because if it got above $1 billion, everybody would have been scratching their head and saying, wait a second here. We can't afford this. Now we're talking about $4 billion as this project grew. So let me give you a little clue. It's going to be more than $4 billion. It's going to be. So then you got to ask yourself, how do you pay for it? Well, here's how you pay for it. Here's how you're paying for a big part of all these projects. You are. You are, with money coming into the state that is the state of North Dakota's money, which means yours, and that money's being took around and spent on infrastructure. The state is paying a big portion of the flood protection plan that's there for Fargo. The state is paying a big portion of the money that's coming in on Garrison. It's a good investment. It's a really good investment because of what I said earlier, because this town can grow even farther. And this town, business-wise, tax-wise, can grow even more. Davies High School, when it was built in way South Fargo, everybody scratched their head and say, what are you building it down there for? The town's to the north. Well, just like many of us knew, the town is growing up around Davies High School. It's going to. And so that's going to continue. I mean, that's going to continue. So here's how I see it. I see it in a way where if we just take a step back and look at basic infrastructure, and you take a look at where the big water projects have been done, I think you've got to look to the Red River Valley. I think you do. If you look at NAS and the way water was supplied there through the Northwest Area Water Supply Project, if you look at the Southwest area and the Southwest Pipeline and how that took care of an area that, quite frankly, it's a long way in between yard lights, right? And yet we still built a rural water system there, and a same system that feeds Dickinson. So then you look at South Central and the partnership that they have with Bismarck, and of course we know that the Bismarck-Mandan area has a glut of water in the Missouri River. You're not going to see too many photos like the one that we showed earlier of the Red River when it comes to the Missouri River. You're not. There's times it's going to be lower. I get that. There's times they're going to have to hold back water, but it's moving water. And that was an old fight in and of itself. Remember? I mean, we didn't get, and that's part of Garrison. That's part of Garrison. And if we don't get a chance to visit with Dwayne today, we'll do it another day. But that part of Garrison was a part where we put a dam and we lost a lot of ground. We had farmers lose ground where we were going to stage it on the McCluskey Canal. And all of that now, well, you can argue that the dam provides power, but it really was based on the need for downstream barge traffic. You know how much barge traffic is going on in Missouri? Not a whole lot. And yet we're the ones sitting here paying the tab for it. But we do generate power from it. We do distribute power from it. So I get that. I understand it. What's the most interesting part of all this is that they stuck with it. The Garrison board, the Garrison project, the diversion project has and always stuck to it. And I know irrigation was supposed to be a big part of it. I know it was, but it's not. And maybe we can spin off and do that. The pipe is big enough to do a lot of things. I know that Devil's Lake was supposed to be a big part of this project. It's not. Well, the pipe is built big enough to stabilize and take water up to Devil's Lake. The priority is getting water to Fargo. That's first and foremost. Making sure Fargo has a stable Red River to draw from. That, again, is a good thing. And that, again, is something that we need here in the East. And thank you to all of you for helping pay for. When we come back, a man named Derek Hanson. I work with him every day in radio. This is a man who knows the Vikings, can tell you every player, knows the Minnesota Twins, can tell you every player probably in the Farm League. We'll talk to him about Kirk Cousins' press conference right after this.
Howdy, folks. It's a Line Cafe. I reckon it's time you're due for a hearty meal. So saddle up for the day with one of our Hay-Boston breakfast homemade soups. Fill your grill at a salad bar. Sink your teeth into our famous Line burger and barbecue ribs. Top it off with spoon-rattling pie with a calm roll that's sure to put a smile on even the toughest outlaws. Shake the dirt off the boots each night and warm up with the game. Tell them about it, Stacy.
I can't wait to see you at the County Line.
If you don't know what's going on in education in this country, then you don't know what's going to happen in the future of this country. And it's important. I'm Dr. Duke.
And I'm Katie.
Watch the Dr. Duke Show weekdays at 4 p.m. Central Time on Beck TV.
Hi, Hunter Ellis here for Night Hero Binoculars by Atomic Beam. These binoculars let you see anything, even in pitch black darkness. Gotcha.
The secrets are powerful wide-angle atomic beam laser that reveals objects up to 150 yards away, hidden by darkness.
During the day, Night Hero gives you 10 times magnification. And when the sun goes down, press the Night Bright button to see clearly in the dark. Light up garbage-eating critters or spot thieves before they even get close. Call or click now and get Night Hero binoculars for just $39.99. Order right now and you can double it. Plus, get our best-selling atomic beam flashlight. Just pay a separate fee. We'll even ship them to you free. This TV special offer is not available on Amazon. You can get it all, but you have to order now.
Call 1-800-619-1091. That's 1-800-619-1091. Or visit bynighthero.com. That's bynighthero.com. Order now.
Attention, have you or a loved one suffered from maculopathy, a serious retinal injury, after taking the prescription drug Elmiron for interstitial cystitis or bladder pain syndrome? In 2018, a researcher at the Emory School of Medicine linked Elmiron, a prescription drug that treats interstitial cystitis or bladder pain syndrome, to maculopathy, which is sight-threatening and can cause an abrupt change of vision. Call Elmiron Justice for a free legal consultation.
Please call 800-395-5680.
Non-attorney spokesperson. This is a paid advertisement for legal services sponsored by Nightline Legal. Cases assigned on a random basis to participating law firms. This drug remains approved by the FDA. If you or a loved one regularly took Zantac and were later diagnosed with cancer, call right now. You may be entitled to financial compensation. Potential cancers include bladder cancer, colon cancer, kidney cancer, stomach cancer, liver cancer, pancreatic cancer. Do not stop taking a prescribed medication without first consulting with your doctor. Discontinuing a prescribed medication without your doctor's advice can result in injury or death.
Call 1-800-230-9210.
Welcome back to Down the Road. We'll get Dwayne DeCray for you next week. We will. He does a way better job of explaining the process of how we got to where we're finally putting pipe in the ground to get to Fargo than anybody I know. So we'll do that then. We weren't able to hook up with him today. Imagine walking into a locker room, the Minnesota Vikings locker room. I'm not talking about the local high school team's locker room. And you look at every one of those players and you know who the heck they are. And here's the other part. They know who you are. That's been Derek Hanson for a long, long time. He has had a connection to Minnesota athletics. He grew up in Barnesville. This is a man who's been a Viking fan, a Twins fan all his life, very passionate about it, and he took up broadcast sports for a living. He works with me in radio, and Derek is an individual that I count on all the time for information when it comes to professional athletics. Let's bring him in right now. Derek, good to have you coming down the road with us. I think we got you muted there, Derek. We'll pull out of it, and maybe we have to. There we go.
Yeah, all right, I got it.
Yep.
It's a pleasure to be here. It's a really, I've been excited to come on the show finally.
Yeah, well, it's good to have you, and be careful if you say finally. You might be a regular and guest host. So, want to talk to you a little bit, if I can, and begin with Kirk Cousins. The press conference that he held yesterday where he said whether or not you've been vaccinated is a private matter. He doesn't plan on sharing it with people. He admitted he hasn't been vaccinated. And, of course, we were starting to hear from him coming out of being quarantined, being locked up at a time when you and I both know training right now is vitally important for the Vikings and for any quarterback, for that matter. Give me your take on the press conference of what Cousins said.
Well, I think it's kind of interesting. We all know he's vaccinated, right? He said it's still a private matter. So I was a little surprised he answered the same way he has throughout the season, because I think it's quite, you and I have talked about it. If you're not saying whether you're vaccinated or not, you're probably not vaccinated, right? So we know that, and we know it because the protocols say if you are in close contact, you're going to go home for a few days, where Jake Browning, who obviously was able to play Saturday night in the practice game, was. So I think he needs to be a little bit more forthcoming on all that. And I didn't think it was a good look for him that way at all. I mean, I think if you're not going to get vaccinated, just say why you're not going to get vaccinated. Give us a reason. Tell us is it a health reason? Is it a religious reason that you don't believe in stem cell research? I think you leave just more of a big cloud in the air of like, what is going on with you? Because it's such a public thing. You're the starting quarterback of the most popular team in the region here. You have to be a little bit more upfront with it. And he was pretty coy, and I don't think that was a good look for him at all.
Well, one of the things that he said during that press conference that really jumped out at me was that he's a leader with the Minnesota Twins, that he needed to be that leader with the Minnesota Vikings. I'm sorry, I got Twins on the brain too. So, here we sit with a man who really is in a position of leadership, as most quarterbacks are, but is he leading? I mean, what's going to happen if Kirk Cousins contracts and is tested for and gets COVID? We're not going to see him on the field that Sunday. We're not. And it's more than likely with the protocol that we have that we might see him on the field. And you and I have talked, and the protocol that the NFL has really turned into a joke. It's like they can't make up their mind what they want it to be. Speak to that a little bit, because I know that the certain protocols are driving you nuts.
Well, I think the big thing is not so much the protocols. I think they needed it updated quick when the CDC came out and talked about how the Delta variant now is the predominant variant, like at 85%, somewhere around there, and it spreads, and we've had breakthrough cases, and everyone can spread it. So that tells you, okay, we have a situation now where the NFLPA, more and more stories are coming out where they are going to probably have more strict testing with everyone, vaccinated or not. And I think that's kind of what Kirk Cousins is banking on, right? That the protocols are going to change so he won't be looked at differently because he's not vaccinated. I think that's what he's doing right now, because the NFL put these protocols in to do what? Well, protect their players from constant spread and having that type of problem. And they're going to have to adjust with the new CDC guidelines. And so that's going to be interesting. I think he's kind of banking on that a little bit, because if it's really about asymptomatic spread from vaccinated or not vaccinated, then you really have to treat everyone the same. The big question is okay, if you get really sick because you're not vaccinated and you didn't protect yourself, should you lose game checks because you missed games? If you test positive because you're not vaccinated, should you not, get a game check because, and that's probably a more realistic and really common sense type of protocol that they could use compared to what's going on right now.
So you say if you're tested positive and you're not vaccinated, but you and I both know now from the CDC that you can test positive even though you've been vaccinated.
Yep.
So how do you decide which one that you're going to take the game check from? How do you decide which one you're going to pull off the field?
I think the narrative will be is that, hey, you tried to do what you could with this vaccine that we have. You tried to do what you could for this to actually miss a game. But that is an interesting question, because there will be, if they have stringent testing, again, for everyone, regardless of vaccination status, we're going to have players miss games. And what's frustrating about that, and I think you'd agree, is then it almost feels like we're back to 2020, right? We're moving games at Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and so that's the frustrating part about that. And I think we have to look at it not just with the NFL, just in society as general, how much longer we have to do this, because I think it's frustrating for everyone. When we were told that this was going to be the best way out of this, and at what point can we get back to normal? We don't have to worry about this. And then it brings up the question: okay, if we have that type of spread, they want to have full capacity at these stadiums. I mean, it's a revenue thing. So can they do that if they're going to start going through these protocols again? It's an interesting time right now for the NFL and many other leagues too.
That was my next question for you, Derek, which is, if we know that people that have been vaccinated, let's just assume they even ask for a vaccine card before you get in. I'm a Viking season ticket holder, and if they ask me for my vaccination card before I get in, and I'm assuming everybody around me is vaccinated, but now I know from the CDC that, hey, I can carry COVID with me. I can transmit COVID with me. If you're the NFL and you're worried about Kirk Cousins being around a man that's had COVID, what happens next? Does the NFL, because once the fans get in there, it's their job to provide the type of environment that's safe for fans. We all know that. If this is going to be the attitude they have, how then can they even justify, even find a way to make it work to put people in that stadium?
No, it's a very good question. I really don't know what the answer is, to be quite frank. I think that they're looking at a situation right now where they're going to have to, it's tough because kids under 12 right now cannot get. So what do you do in that situation? I really don't know. It's a very good question. They're really stuck right now because the vaccination, do they want to discriminate against their people who are season ticket holders all these years who are not vaccinated either? I don't know what the actual answer is on that. They're going to have to make a decision. They're going to make a decision soon. I mean, the first preseason games are coming up.
Well, you mentioned, what is it? I mean, what is our tell so that we say, look, this is the best we can do. This is as good as we're going to do. It's either now live our lives in a normal way or live in a COVID way the rest of our life. Well,
yeah.
And I realize we could be talking about different variants another day, but as we see it right now with the Delta variant, for example, we know with the Delta variant that if you've been vaccinated, your chance of ending up in a hospital is far, far less than somebody that hasn't been vaccinated. Dr. Nagpal was on this show. He's been on my radio show. He's spoken with you as well. And I asked him the very question you've been asking, which is, what is it? What is the goal here? Where do we get to before we get to that point? And the one thing that he said then was, we've got to get somewhere between 80 and 90%. I'm not sure we're ever going to get to 80 or 90%. The goal was 70 before, and we haven't achieved that goal. And so if that's the point, will we be back playing football at 80% or 79%? These are questions I'm not sure you or I can give the answer to, or will get the answer to.
That's a very good point, and the fact that we will get into the respiratory illness season like we have up here in October, November, early December, and we'll be talking about hospitalization going up again? If we're even close to 80%, are we starting all over? And do we have to shut down attendance? Do we have to shut down sports in general again? Yeah, that's a scary thing. I think that watching the NFL, the most popular sport in the country right now, how they handle this, what their protocols are, if they ease up because they just feel like it's out of their hands, or if they get tighter. I think that's going to be a tell throughout the country. I really do. It's, sports was a big part. In 2020, we missed sports a lot, right? And throughout most of the year. And I think people would really miss the NFL. They didn't miss out on it last year.
Yeah, well, one of the things I think we've got to take a look at is why Minnesota is one of the lowest vaccinated teams in the NFL, if not the lowest. Derek, why do you think that is? Why do you think the Vikings of all teams are one of the ones that has said no to the vaccine?
I don't know this. Really, it's interesting because Eric Kendricks last week in one of his pressers, he made the comment that he just flat out said that he was not vaccinated. So yeah, it's a really good question. I don't have the answer to if it's just a leadership member, if they just believe in natural health, that's where they want to go with supplements, that type of thing. Certainly that is the case with a lot of athletes. I'm not really sure. It seems bizarre. There is a thought that once all the players get cut, like the guys that are out there, actually vaccination rates might go lower because a lot of those guys might actually be vaccinated and some of the top stars aren't for whatever reason. So that's going to be an interesting watch too when they go from the 90-man roster that they have right now to 53-man roster.
Well, it's clear that Coach Zimmer wants them vaccinated. The frustration in his voice, and of course he's never been known for being cute about it. He's pretty blunt, and he wants them vaccinated. Do you think he makes cuts based on that?
Boy, if he does, he's not going to make it public, but that's a very good point. I mean, because he's a football coach. I mean, if the protocols stay the way they are, how is that not going to be a factor? I mean, that's a very good point. I mean, if you got two guys, competing for that third safety spot, and one is vaccinated and one isn't, and you're deciding who can be there available for you with, and there's contact tracing, he can't be there, or whatever it might be. Yeah, that close contact thing could really be a factor. That's a very good point.
Derek Hanson, he comments, and he is a huge part of what we do on 740 The Fan and KFGO Radio 790. We'll be back. I want to talk a little bit about the Minnesota Twins with Derek as well. So stick around. More coming your way as we head down the road.
Hey, everybody. I'm Doug Billings, your host of The Right Side with Doug Billings on Beck News. We bring you high-profile guests, ladies and gentlemen, exclusive guests. Now, you're not going to see these guests in most of the mainstream media outlets. Another thing that I do here is give guests a platform to speak freely. You're not going to see me censor anybody. Please join us, won't you? Weeknights right here on Beck TV and online at beck.news. Cheers.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, and as you know, my passion is to help each and every one of you get the best sleep of your life. That's why I created my new Giza Dreams bed sheets. The first night you sleep on my sheets, you'll never want to sleep on anything else.
Go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen right now to get your very own MyPillow Giza Dream sheets. When you buy one set of sheets, you'll get another set absolutely free.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit MyPillow.com.
Introducing the Cool Turtle, the ultra-comfortable mask enhancer that creates a protective, cool, and breathable space between your mask and your face. Simply slide under any mask or gaiter and immediately feel the refreshing pocket of air surrounding your face. Cool Turtle's ergonomically designed, soft, comfortable shell immediately reduces mask friction, allowing you to breathe and talk in a comfortable environment.
I can actually breathe. With the Cool Turtle, no more sweating.
It's like I don't even have a mask on.
Call now and get not one, not two, but 3 Cool Turtles for just $10. Order now and we'll send you 2 more Cool Turtles free. No fees, absolutely free. Plus, you can get a 10-pack of 4-ply face masks. Just pay a separate fee. This offer is not available on Amazon. Get the real Cool Turtle now.
Call 1-800-270-1219. That's 1-800-270-1219. Or visit getcoolturtle.com. Order now.
Seniors, are you aware that you could pay less for your car insurance?
Seniors can save money on their car insurance.
You might save a little, you might save a lot.
maybe hundreds of dollars a year.
You might save 5% a year, maybe 10%, 15%, or even more.
That's a lot of money.
So call right now and find out just how much money you might be able to save.
1-800-699-0761. 1-800-699-0761.
I'm Rick Becker from No Apologies. Welcome to your After Hours Oasis of Sanity. Watch us weeknights at 9 Central on Beck News and online at beck.news.
Could you do us a favor? Beck TV is a finalist for Best Local TV Station in the Bismarck Tribune's Best of the Best. Vote now through August 9th by text or online. Vote for your leader in local, Beck TV.
I hung on to him, Derek Hanson, radio personality, not just out of the Fargo area, but obviously 740 covers everywhere that people are viewing us right now. 740 The Fan, and of course he does a lot of work with me on 790. But Derek, I got to ask you, you've been a Twins fan all your life. What in the heck happened this year?
Yeah, it's hard to believe that they're this bad. I mean, I thought for sure that the pitching would come around. Early on, the bullpen was a big disappointment for them, and that, they cost them games. They're booting the ball around. Injuries obviously played a factor with Byron Buxton out most of this year. Just a lot of different injuries with him, but it was just a combination of a lot of things. Bad pitching. Didn't have great timely hitting when they needed it in some of the big games early, and it just was a snowball effect for the spring and summer. And it was like one of these things where Murphy's Law, anything that could go wrong did go wrong.
What about the offseason? Because a lot of people are pointing to that. We lost some middle relief, didn't replace the middle relief. We lost a good left fielder, we didn't replace it with a good left fielder. I mean, did the Twins make some moves in the offseason that should have told people like you and I to predict this and not have our hopes up?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I think when Trevor May left, that certainly was a little bit of an eye-opener. Like, man, that's a guy. And Sergio Romo, as goofy as he could be sometimes, he was a constant guy. They certainly loved him in the clubhouse. So, yeah, you lose two arms like that in the bullpen. That didn't help. And Colomane was a bust. I mean, just don't get around it. That was a disastrous move for the Twins. And so, yeah, and, let's face it, he certainly seems like a good guy, a good leader. But Josh Donaldson hasn't worked out as far as production. This guy's getting paid as much as Joe Mauer got paid, and criticized all the time was Joe Mauer about production. Well, Josh Donaldson is just he's not at his MVP level anymore, and you can see that at the plate. He'll give you some moments, but not at the point that he needs to get this team to be successful.
So, the horse trading that was done before the trade deadline, if you look at what the Twins gave up versus what they got back in return, break that down for me. What did you see?
Well, they're in a situation where Jose Barrios just sounded like when he became a free agent, he wanted to test the open market after next year. The Twins could have gone to arbitration with him, had him throughout the 2022 season at a pretty decent number, I'm sure, but they didn't want to lose him for nothing, so they decided to go took the phone call from Toronto, who's trying to make a playoff run here, and they got a couple of prospects. So if a player doesn't want to necessarily re-sign with you, I think I understand why they did it. It's frustrating because he certainly has been a talent. You put all this work and time to build him up to what he's going to be, but it just wasn't going to work out more or less. So he wanted to be a free agent after next year, and so the Twins had to make the move. And all the people, I don't really follow the minor leagues all that closely, but a lot of folks say that they really got a nice haul for him.
Well, and the people you're talking to aren't the only ones. I've got the guys that are baseball experts that I always count on for every team out there. They're just complete baseball junkies. And out of any of the trades that were made, they claim that the one that the Twins got with Toronto was one of the best in terms of what the Twins could have had. Optimism. Of course, I have optimism that Byron Buxton isn't going to get hurt every year, and that hasn't worked out so well for me.
Yeah, it's a shame, and they offered him a deal for like $11 million a year, which isn't a lot in a baseball team. For you and I, we take that, right? But as far as what he's doing, and they really wanted a huge incentive-laden deal, and he's eligible for arbitration after next year too. So that's a watch here this offseason. That's going to be something to really watch closely to see what they do with a guy who, if he was healthy, he looked like he could be the MVP of not only this team but maybe the league. they didn't have all that much success.
So where are we at? Are we at a place where if you're a Twins fan, just don't expect a lot coming in? We're in a rebuilding phase because last year you got a playoff team. This year you think you're going to go further in the playoffs. We didn't. It was a complete bust, quite frankly, to where teams, when they lose to the Minnesota Twins now are sitting there saying, you lost to the Twins that are in the run here. That's a win in their column when they look back on the schedule now. So, where are we at? Are we in a rebuilding phase where these small market teams like the Twins, it takes 2, 3, 4 years before you're competitive again?
It's a good question. I mean, you look at 2016, they had a record-setting year for losses, and then they made it to got into the wild card to lose to your Yankees in the next year. And that was, I think Paul Molitor was the manager of the year that year in 2017. So, that's your glasses half full scenario, right? But so I'm sure they're going to just try to piece it together because if you look at the roster, they have some talent, but they got to build around that. And if they can cut some dead weight, I mean, let's face it. He's given us glimpses, but, I know you're not a big fan either. Miguel Sano, that's just going to be a situation. If they can get anything for him, can they get rid of Josh Donaldson? What are they going to do with Buxton? There's going to be an interesting hot stove season this year for the Minnesota Twins.
Don't you think, Derek, if they could have gotten rid of Sano, they would have at the trade deadline?
Oh, for sure.
I mean, there's nobody out there shopping for Sano. He can't hit a breaking ball low and away. I mean, he just completely falls for it every time they pitch him. And, flashes, but those flashes are pretty small. And I don't think he's the best first baseman I've ever seen play. And so, Donaldson, you could make an argument he's a pretty good third baseman, but nobody wanted him either because they didn't want the salary. They didn't want the salary that went along with it. And so, to me, you take two names that Sano and Donaldson, and you take them out of the lineup now, and you start worrying about Polanco saying, I want out of here too. Some of that's going to happen, Derek.
Yeah, for sure. And, those are two guys to watch too with a couple years left on their contract. They make decent money, but not a lot of money, is Max Kepler and Polanco. And, Polanco is a guy, I think he's won the hearts of a lot of fans. He works his butt off. So that's going to be fun to watch to see how he progresses because, they do have some infielders, but he's been a pretty steady Eddie for them. Well,
I look at Polanco and I look at Kepler, and if I had to keep one of them, it's Polanco. And I was the one singing the praises of Max Kepler, and he's just gone downhill. I mean, I don't get that. 30 home runs plus last year, and here we see him this year just struggling at the plate. Is it because they can pitch around him, or what the heck's going on?
It's interesting. Sano can't hit right-handed pitching, and Kepler, he has his tough times against left-handers. So he may be dinged up more than we know too. We just don't know, and it's always something that you gotta wonder in a situation like that.
Okay. Last question, I promise. What's the Vikings record going to be this year and why?
I got to do math to 17 now, so right. I'll go 12-5. It's usually, I always say 12-4 when I'm optimistic, but 12-5, as long as no one goes home with, contact tracing all the time.
Okay, then what's it going to be against the Packers? That's the biggest thing for me.
They always split, don't they? I mean, other than last year, we got we got beat pretty bad last year twice, but
no, we won one of those games last year. We did. That was we were one of the few losses that the Packers had going into the playoffs. It was the only thing I could hang my hat on.
Oh yeah, that's right. They won at Lambeau, right?
Yeah.
They split. They went the wrong way. That's right. See that. I try to forget last season, Joel, but yeah, they had that surprising win at Lambeau. I forgot about that.
Yeah. Derek, thanks for giving us time. Let's do this again sometime, huh?
Absolutely. It was a lot of fun. Thank you.
You bet, Derek Hanson. Let's get to Ken Martin after this break. Ken is the chair of the Minnesota DFL party. Let's talk about infrastructure. Let's talk about President Biden right after this.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, and as you know, my passion is to help each and every one of you get the best sleep of your life. That's why I created my new Giza Dreams bed sheets. I started by using the world's best cotton called Giza. It's only grown in a region between the Sahara Desert, the Mediterranean Sea, and the Nile River. It's ultra soft and breathable, but extremely durable. My Giza sheets also include full 21-inch wide pillowcases that will fit over any pillow and deep pocket sheets that will fit over any mattress. The first night you sleep on my sheets, you'll never want to sleep on anything else.
Go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen right now to get your very own MyPillow Giza Dream Sheets. Giza Dream Sheets are available in a variety of colors. Use your promo code, and for a limited time, when you buy one set of sheets, you'll get another set absolutely free.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit mypillow.com.
Non-attorney spokesperson. This is a paid advertisement for legal services sponsored by Nightline Legal. Cases assigned on a random basis to participating law firms. This drug remains approved by the FDA. If you or a loved one regularly took Zantac and were later diagnosed with cancer, call right now. You may be entitled to financial compensation. Potential cancers include bladder cancer, colon cancer, kidney cancer, stomach cancer, liver cancer, pancreatic cancer. Do not stop taking a prescribed medication without first consulting with your doctor. Discontinuing a prescribed medication without your doctor's advice can result in injury or death.
Call 1-800-230-9210.
Seniors, are you aware that you could pay less for your car insurance?
Seniors can save money on their car insurance.
You might save a little, you might save a lot.
Maybe hundreds of dollars a year.
You might save 5% a year, maybe 10%, 15%, or even more.
That's a lot of money.
So call right now and find out just how much money you might be able to save.
1-800-699-0761. 1-800-699-0761.
Hi, it's me, Anthony Sullivan. And yes, you've actually caught me at home relaxing, because life's been pretty worry-free since I got coverage with American Residential Warranty.
You won't believe what ARW covers. Heating and air conditioning, washers and dryers, kitchen appliances, plumbing, water heaters, electrical systems, flat screens and laptops, even pools and spas, and so much more.
Call American Residential Warranty. They'll get you covered.
1-800-219-1467.
Go for Launch 2018 series winner. Without further ado, it is my honors. Regina. The winning team is the Flumin River Excellent.
Oh my God!
They won!
You know, Ken Martin is a man with a lot of energy and a lot of optimism. I got to know him at a number of functions. I heard him speak to the crowd, and I heard him hold those crowds right in the palm of his hands. That's because he believes in what he's saying. And as far as I stand, he's right about what he says. Ken is the chairman of the Minnesota DFL party. Let's bring him in and get a chance to talk with him. Ken, good to have you coming down the road with us.
Hey, thanks so much, Joel. I'm really glad to be here.
I want to talk a little bit about the article you wrote. And the article you wrote, I think, well, it is right. You talk about how the president has reached across the aisle and President Biden is getting things done. Walk people through what the premise of your article was.
Well, look, I mean, the reality is President Biden promised the American people when he ran that he was going to deliver results for working families. And the deal that's on the table right now, this bipartisan infrastructure deal, shows how far we can come when we come together, find common ground, and actually work on issues that are affecting all Americans in every part of the country. And so, you know, whether it's folks in the rural areas, whether it's folks in the suburbs or in urban communities, there's a huge need for infrastructure investments in this country. And President Biden told us he was going to do that, and he's brought people together to actually, we're right on the precipice now of this historic infrastructure package. And, you know, the American people know that this is going to be a game changer for their lives and for our economy, which is why you've seen really broad bipartisan support in numerous polls and, of course, a stream of endorsements from the nation's governors, mayors, businesses, major labor unions, and others. This will be a game changer for our country and for people throughout America.
You know, when you look at it, that was always kind of the background of the old Democratic Party anyway. In fact, I don't think it's ever really left. Infrastructure, roads, bridges, water, sewer. You know, I'm looking over your shoulders and I'm seeing a good old-fashioned Union print there, and I'm also looking at a poster of Paul Wellstone. Now, these two people know what it's like to build something, to get something done, and to work on behalf of those that do. You know, when the previous president talked about how it was Infrastructure Week, it was Infrastructure Month, he didn't get anything done. He didn't ever get it. He just talked about it. Joe Biden is getting something done. Do you think it's going to get the attention of the other side of the aisle?
Well, I certainly hope it does. And Joel, one thing you should know about me, I of course feel blessed to have worked for Paul Wellstone, but I come from a Republican family. My father was a Republican, I should say, no longer for a number of reasons. But, you know, he used to say around the kitchen table that, there was a role for government in people's lives, and it was public safety, public education, and infrastructure. And no more than that, right? And of course, he and I would argue about a public safety net and other things that government should be doing for people. But even Republicans used to always be at the table when it came to infrastructure deals. And that's one thing we could find common ground on. And what's been frustrating in recent years is to see the Republican Party in this state and in this country walk away from even infrastructure projects. Because look, at the end of the day, we have a lot of crumbling infrastructure in this country that needs repair. We know that firsthand here in Minnesota. Folks in North Dakota know that. And these are some of the best investments we can make, not only for communities throughout this nation, but frankly, it will help create great union jobs and put people back to work. And that's going to help stimulate our economy. There's so many benefits to this. The Republicans, I'm grateful for where we're at right now, but it shouldn't have taken us dragging them by the feet, kicking and screaming to be at the table in a serious way.
Ken, I got to throw at you because both of us know a lot of union workers. My old legislative district, they built Bobcats. I mean, those guys were union workers. They were standing on a line in 3 shifts, and we struck. I mean, when I say we, I was a union member at the time because I worked in public government, but we struck and stood on that line and made the complaint that they couldn't treat these workers the way they did. It wasn't about pay. It wasn't about health insurance. It was about the fact that they could walk up to them on a Thursday when their daughter was getting married on a Saturday and tell them they had to work. It had gotten that bad. So here we sit, with those of us showing them how much we supported union workers and stood right by them. We lost them somehow. I don't know how we lost them. And I can tell you this, when I talk to my old union buddies who still are rock solid Democrats, and I say, what happened to the membership? They always bring up guns. They always bring up guns. I mean, how do we as a Democratic Party fix that? Because we've never taken their guns. I mean, how do we fix it?
We have to, look, my brother is a union carpenter. My grandfather was the statewide president here of the letter carriers. I come from a union background. I used to work for the building trades. So I will tell you this much, that it is an issue, but we need to be honest with them. I've been in Democratic politics for 30 years. You've been involved for a long time as well. I've never sat in a room with a group of Democrats and talked about how we're going to take away guns from people, particularly law-abiding folks like myself who grew up hunting. As I say to my brother, who also says the same thing, well, the Democrats are going to take away my guns. Look, we're for sensible gun reform to make sure that bad people don't have access to guns, to make sure that we have background checks and sensible reforms that keep guns out of the hands of bad people. But good law-abiding citizens, folks like you and I who grew up hunting, we've never talked about taking away people's guns. And we need to be honest with folks, because it's a red herring that the Republicans and the NRA and others have used to create this wedge between us and working people, as if somehow our whole goal is to take away guns from people. That's not our goal. But we do have to acknowledge that there is a serious crisis in this country that requires action. We don't want to see these mass shootings anymore. We don't want to see people that shouldn't have guns having guns. And there are some sensible reforms on the table that, by the way, are supported by most Americans, and here in Minnesota by a wide majority of Minnesotans. So look, we have to address the rash of gun violence in this country. We also have to acknowledge and be honest with people. We're not talking about taking away from guns from law-abiding citizens.
Ken, I want to mention 2 pieces of, my bias when it comes to this. I believe that broadband is infrastructure. I also believe that daycare is infrastructure. Those very workers, like the one over your, over your left shoulder, we need them. We need them in the workplace. And so, how do we convince people that without good, solid daycare, that we're not going to be able to achieve the economic success we could?
Well, look, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. We talk about infrastructure a lot through the sort of old adage of, sort of bricks and mortar and roads and bridges, and all of that's important. And again, we have a crumbling infrastructure, but we also have to think about human infrastructure and how we're investing in the workforce of today and tomorrow. What does that look like? And when you have people who cannot afford to work because childcare is so expensive, and have to make choices, terrible choices about, whether they can put food on the table or afford their medicine or put their kids in childcare. These are the types of things that when we think about the workforce of tomorrow, we need to address as just as important in terms of the infrastructure, the brick and mortar infrastructure that we also need to invest in. It's not an either or proposition. We need to invest in that hard infrastructure, and then also in that infrastructure, the human infrastructure of the workforce of tomorrow. And so, and it's just, for me, it's a moral issue, right? The cost of childcare is so expensive these days. People are working 2 to 3 jobs, still barely able to build a future for their family. And, when we talk about what has made this country exceptional, the idea of the American dream, which we both know is not necessarily, it's somewhat of a fallacy because it's not afforded to everyone, but the idea that you should be able to work hard and if you play by the rules, build a better life for your family. There are things like the cost of childcare and wage stagnation, the fact that we haven't had a federal minimum wage increase in years, that are actually contributing to people actually making less and less money and not being able to build for the future. That's the type of infrastructure we need to invest in as well.
Now, I challenge all of you watching Beck News and watching this program that just heard Ken. What is it he said that you disagree with? That's a message here in the upper Midwest. It's a good message for us. We don't have a lot of people out in those rural areas. Good, solid roads, bridges, water systems. Those are things that make a difference, and broadband that allows us to succeed. Ken, always good to visit with you, man. Appreciate you coming on.
Hey, Joel, anytime. Thanks so much.
You bet. When we come back, ladies and gentlemen, I'll give you some closing comments for the week right after this.
Do you worry about going to the dentist? After all, a visit to the dentist can easily cost $2,000 or more. Well, relax. The Carefree Dental Card is now available in your area. Call now and we'll send your actual card at no cost today. With the Carefree Dental Card, you go to the dentist whenever you need and you instantly pay a lot less. Activate your card and you can start using it immediately. From exams and cleanings to more expensive procedures like crowns, dentures, even braces, they're all included with the Carefree Dental Card. Say you go to the dentist today without any card and your bill is, well, ouch. Wait a minute, let's try that again. You go to the dentist today and show your Carefree Dental Card, you save $525. The Carefree Dental Card is just $15.95 a month, so call now and make going to the dentist carefree.
Call 1-800-416-5739 to receive your Carefree Dental Card information kit. 1-800-416-5739. Call now.
I can't say enough good things about these nano hearing aids.
Real people talking about nano hearing aids.
The hearing quality is great.
Until now, hearing aids used to be too expensive for the average person. Until nano. Call now and you'll get your nano hearing aids for only $297. You'll save $100. When you buy one hearing aid, Nano will give you a second hearing aid free. Call right now.
1-800-213-3815.
Spas, etc.
You've come to know and trust us for over 18 years with the largest selection and showroom in Western North Dakota for our beautiful Sundance spas. Plus, you could pick out your next home experience with our selection of pool tables, shuffleboards, and fun accessories.
Spas, etc. Your relaxation destination on Main and Bismarck.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, and I'm coming to you with the most important commercial that I've ever done. All of you know what MyPillow and myself have gone through in the last 5 months in my efforts to bring the truth forward. Well, it's all come down to this. I'm having a cyber symposium on August 10th, 11th, and 12th. This historical event will be live streamed 72 hours straight on my new platform, frankspeech.com. You can help by getting everybody you know to go to frankspeech.com now. To help support this Cyber Symposium event, I am offering some of the best prices ever on my pillow products, but they're only offered at frankspeech.com. Go to frankspeech.com now and use the promo code on your screen or call the 1-800 number below to receive these exclusive My Pillow offers. Thank you and God bless.
We just have a little bit of time left in the rig as we're heading down the road. In Arkansas, the legislature put a piece of legislation in that said you cannot have mask mandates. That went all the way to the governor's desk, and Asa Hutchinson, the governor of Arkansas, signed it. He signed it. Well, this week with the Delta variant going on now, he came out publicly at a press conference and said he wishes he hadn't signed it. Got screamed down at the press conference, has people protesting him like crazy, but he wishes he hadn't signed it. He wishes he hadn't lost that tool. Well, here in North Dakota, same thing. Governor Burgum tried to veto it, but here we are. Because of the ultra-conservative nature and the belief in, well, lack of belief in science is the better way of putting it, we're at a position where we should be doing better in North Dakota. And the controls aren't necessarily there that allow the governor to do what he might have to do. And I stress might. I've been vaccinated. I've had COVID. I'd just as soon never wear a mask again. Take a look at what North Dakota's numbers are and compare those to others. Okay, 18 and older, 52.5. That's a lot of people left to get vaccinated. A lot of people before we reach that goal of what was 70, and now we're being told 80. You look at 65 and older, obviously they realize they're a way bigger threat of what can happen. And that's one dose, which I don't quite understand that, how those numbers have to be where they're at. 12 and older, well, we all know what's happening there. I'm not as concerned about 12 and older. I realize they got to get vaccinated. I'm glad they're getting vaccinated. I hope they develop the vaccine and the right dosage for people that are under 12, speaking as a man who has 6 grandkids that are under 12 years old. But if you look at that 18 and older, there's no excuse for that. You look at the numbers of that 18 and older, and there's just such a cavalier attitude. I can tell you of 3 people now in that age category that have been on ventilators that are in good shape, no pre-existing conditions, but they got the Delta variant and they are sick. Their family and their families are doing a lot of praying right now that they can get through this. What's the reason? What's the reason? Is it religious? Because religious leaders all over are telling you to get vaccinated. Go get vaccinated. It's been good riding with you, folks.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, and as you know, my passion is to help each and every one of you get the best sleep of your life. That's why I created my new Giza Dreams bed sheets. I started by using the world's best cotton called Giza. It's only grown in a region between the Sahara Desert, the Mediterranean Sea, and the Nile River. It's ultra soft and breathable, but extremely durable. My Giza sheets also include full 21-inch wide pillowcases that will fit over any pillow and deep pocket sheets that will fit over any mattress. The first night you sleep on my sheets, you'll never want to sleep on anything else.
Go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen right now to get your very own MyPillow Giza Dream Sheets. Giza Dream Sheets are available in a variety of colors. Use your promo code, and for a limited time, when you buy one set of sheets, you'll get another set absolutely free.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world.